Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So start symbol is very sacrosanct in any grammatical system that decides what kind of grammatical entities you will have in the language. So if S goes to NPVP, then you have sentences with noun phrase and verb phrases. If NP itself is a start symbol, then verb phrases independent of noun phrases will not exist. So start symbol is important in any grammatical system. The corpus is also annotated with pause tags, DT determinant, NN singular noun, NNS plural noun, JJ adjective, IN preposition, NP noun phrase, JJP adjective phrase, and PP preposition phrase. So you understand there is a, 2-level or 3-level annotation on the corpus. So you have raw sentences on which first of all there are these DT, NN, JJ, etc. tags. And then those tags are combined to form noun phrases. So if you have DT and NN side by side, the boy, then a bracket will be placed around the and boy, and the bracket will be marked as NP. So it is an NP, that is noun phrase. So the probability distribution is also given amongst all the noun phrases. The rules have these probabilities. 0.5 for NP goes to DTNN, NP goes to NNS, plural noun 0.3, NP goes to JJP, NNS 0.2. So what does it mean? You have to understand the language phenomenon here. So before beginning to answer the question, you have to understand the language phenomenon. There are only 3 kinds of noun phrases in the corpus. One is composed of determiner and noun, singular noun. Plural nouns typically don't take a determiner before them. A and N are not applicable anyway. You can't say an elephants, that is not possible. And determiner also is normally not used unless those plural nouns are already referred to before. So NP going to NNS is a very practical situation. Plural nouns most of the times are not preceded by determiner. And then you can have noun phrases consisting of adjective and noun. And here we are restricting the kind of nouns that can come. This is only plural nouns. So you can have a string of adjectives, JJP. JJP consists of JJP, JJ, left recursion, and JJP consists only of JJ. So the adjective phrase can consist of only a single adjective or a string of adjectives. So if you have string of adjectives, that happens more rarely than only one single adjective. That is the nature of the corpus you have got. Okay, so this is the grammatical phenomenon that is happening in the corpus, and you need to understand the language phenomenon which is unfolding before you. So 3 kinds of noun phrase, and adjective phrases are of 2 kinds, either a string of adjectives or a single adjective. The probability values are given. You must understand that these probability values are based on corpus statistics. So many times people have observed that 50% of the noun phrases are DTN, NN, 30% plural nouns, and 20% adjective followed by noun. This is what has been observed from the data, and from there we make a leap of generalization in terms of machine learning and say that the English language noun phrases have this property: 50% DTNN, 30% plural noun, 20% 20% adjective string followed by plural noun. And within JJP, adjective phrase itself, there is a distribution of 20% adjective string and 80% of the time only one adjective. So this is the language phenomenon. We have to understand the property of the language. Okay, probability values are given which are manifestation of underlying phenomenon. So if you think of if you think of robotics, for example, a robot is standing in this room, and now it has to do state estimation. It has to find out what is the status of obstacles around it. So this also indicates a distribution. Okay, on the right hand side, there is 80% probability of finding an obstacle. Left hand side, maybe 5%, 2% ahead, 3% behind, and so on. Okay, it should sum to 1, of course. So we have to understand the phenomenon. Probability is only a manifestation of the underlying phenomenon. You have to take that view of probability. And why probability? Probability because of unknowability. Uncertainty in real life is a way of life that is inevitable, and whenever you have uncertainty, you have to bring in probability. So this is the language phenomenon. Okay. Now there are questions based on this situation. The probabilities of the rules have been given, grammatical rules have been given, but the questions are on part of speech tagging probabilities. The transition probability for pause tagging PNN dt is 0.5, 0.75, 1.0, 0.25. Which one is it? Now you see, there is no way a noun phrase can be composed which starts with dt and doesn't have anything other than nn. Whenever there is dt, there is an nn, and the only thing you have in the corpus is noun phrase, nothing else. Okay, so whenever there is dt, there is an nn, therefore the probability must be 1. So the answer is C, which is 1.0. Next question is, what is the probability of state transition from JJ to NNS? Okay, what is the probability of JJ to NNS? Again, we look at the language property. So if we have 100 noun phrases in the corpus, then 50 noun phrases will be DTNN, 30 noun phrases will be plural noun, and 20 noun phrases will have adjective string followed by NNS. That is the situation. So 20 of them will have adjective followed by plural noun. And out of those adjectival noun phrases, 4 will have string of adjectives followed by NNS, and 16 will have adjective followed by NNS. Okay, tiny balls, for example, is an example of adjective followed by NNS. Tiny red balls is an example of JJP NNS. Okay, so if that is the case, then what is the probability of having an NNS given JJ? Out of those 20 cases of adjective preceding a plural noun, how many have transition from JJ to NNS? Well, out of 20, 4 will have that transition. So that probability is 0.2. So answer is B. Any question on that?
So this is not clear, sir.
Not clear? Okay. So let me do this with 100 noun phrases. Okay, in the corpus I have 100 noun phrases. 50 of them are DTNN type, 30 of them only NNS type, and 20 of them, 20 noun phrases consist of adjective and plural noun. Out of those 20, 80 are a single adjective followed by plural noun. Okay, plural noun. So otherwise, the adjective is followed by adjective. Okay, so the question is how many cases do you have where NNS is followed preceded by JJ? That is, after an adjective, you directly have a noun, not another adjective. So that we know that there are 20 noun phrases which consist of adjective. So out of those 20, 4 have adjective and then another adjective and then another adjective maybe, then noun, plural noun. And 80 of them have adjective and then NNS. Okay, so sorry, 16 of them. So 16 out of 20 have NNS preceded by JJ. So the probability will be, yeah. So out of 20, 16 cases have NNS preceded by JJ, and 4 have JJ preceded by JJ.
So I have a doubt here.
Yeah, please.
So in those 4 cases which have NNS preceded by JJ, we also have in the end we have JJ NNS, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we are taking care of those cases. So all of these 20 cases have a JJ NNS, but there are JJ JJ also. So I don't get how we are actually counting. So there can be like infinite JJ JJ, then a JJ
Yeah.
NNS.
Yeah. So one thing is definite, that in all these 20 cases, you have JJ, you have NNS preceded by JJ. That is definite, and you also have JJ preceded by JJ. Right? That is your question, I suppose. So I think this answer is not right. Okay. So let us see. So I have 20 cases of adjectives preceding nouns. So NNS is, how many times is NNS followed, preceded by JJ? Given JJ, okay. So given JJ, so JJ appears, no, I don't think it is a very simple question then, because you have two ways of forming the noun phrase when it involves adjective. We have to find out how many times JJ appears. So this probability is actually how many times JJ appears in the denominator, and how many times NNS appears after JJ. Okay, so surely NNS appears after JJ 20 times, because noun phrases which consist of adjective, there are only 20 of them. So surely the numerator is 20, but we do not know how many times JJ appears in the denominator. Yeah, the answer here should be cannot be determined. So does it sound?
So we can determine
Sir,
this.
but denominator should be 20, numerator should be 16, sir. Because once we know JJ occurs, the way we are expanding NP becomes fixed, which is
No, wait a second. No, wait a
Okay.
second. Wait a sec. So by definition, probability of NNS given JJ is number of times JJ NNS combination appears divided by number of times JJ appears. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
That is by definition. So number of times JJ NNS appears is 20, because 20% of the noun phrases are adjective noun type. That is okay?
Sir, but here we have to talk with respect to one particular JJ, not all JJ, right? So
No, all JJ. No, all JJ. All JJ. All JJ.
So the question also stated an assumption that the max chunk size is 3.
No, that is the next question. Next question. For the first question, no such assumption.
Actually, in the safe quiz, like we were given the same assumption for all three.
Who gave this? No. In safe, you had that assumption?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Where was it written? Was it written that way, Diptesh?
No, sir. It was only for one question.
Yeah.
Assumption.
Only for second. Okay. So please go by the definition. So definition is denominator number of JJs. Number of JJs we don't know, because you can have any arbitrary number of adjectives. Okay.
Sir, but the probability values given, don't they kind of specify that how many times do we have even JJ? Because if we go by the expansion of JJP, gives JJP and JJ, we know they are going to appear. This particular rule is going to be used 0.2 times out of 1. So 4 times there will be JJP to JJP JJ conversion. So we get 4 JJs from here, and from the bottom transition we get 16 JJs. So we have a fixed number of JJs, right? 20.
No, this is not correct thinking. Okay, you have to stick to definition. So the definition is P NNS given JJ is JJ NNS combination in the numerator, total number of JJs in the denominator. Okay, since out of 100, 20 noun phrases must have adjective. Therefore, must have adjectives, and since 20 of them must end in NNS, one NNS only. Okay, so then JJ NNS combination possible is really 20, not more than that. Okay, and the denominator we don't know really. Just think about it. Okay, so the correct answer there
But
is.
but wasn't that an approximation? The core definition is once we have a JJ, what is the probability of getting an NN?
Yes.
Right? This was an approximation that we use for HMN. But by definition, we know what we know is we have a JJ. Now, what is the probability of the next tag being NNS? So once we know that we have at least one JJ, the way we are expanding NP is fixed. So we'll look only in that domain. Now, after JJ, we can either have a JJ or we can have an NNS.
Yes.
According to our rules. Now, for it to have another NNS, it should be just JJP goes to JJ. Only that should be expanded.
No.
JJP goes to just single JJ.
No.
So that probability is 0.8.
No.
So I have one very basic doubt here. You said
Yeah.
that we have 100 something. So I
NPs.
didn't get. So
the corpus has that property. Okay, there are 100 NPs. Okay, so the corpus has that property, and we assume that this is the stationary property that the probability values hold across corpora. So I've taken any corpus.
So out of those 20 NPs which go to JJP NNS, we have this fixed number of JJP to JJP JJ transitions, right? 4 transitions. We can't have more than that. We can't go to infinite because we have already assumed that there are only 4 such transitions in that corpus of 100 noun phrases.
So only 4 of them have
JJP to JJP JJ transitions.
Only 4 of them have JJP JJ transition. Yes.
So only 4 such transitions should be there, and 16 JJP to JJ transitions should be there. Then how? So I think we can't say it cannot be determined.
No. Wait. So you see, if you have a long string of adjectives and then an NNS at the end. Okay.
But we have already said that there are only 4 JJP to JJP JJ transitions, right? If we have very long string, then our basic assumption is not holding, that there are 100 NPs. Then there will be more NPs.
Also, sir, the rules that we were calculated must have been derived from a fixed corpus only, right? The probability values that we have gotten.
Yeah.
So if we are essentially doing reverse here. We are taking the rules and finding out some predictions about the corpus. So shouldn't it be deterministic?
No. Because you see so I can have NNS preceded by any number of adjectives.
But sir, for that to occur, we need to have a larger corpus, because we can't say that we have just 100 NPs and then also this thing is occurring, because that has such a low probability. Because there are only 4 JJP JJ transitions in 100 NPs. If we want more such transitions, then we need to have bigger corpus, but then our denominator will also increase. So this is
See. Well, okay, all right. So you can think about that. But one thing that is definite is that PNNS given JJ is definitely equal to number of times JJ and NS appear together divided by number of JJs. And the problem that I have is I do not know the total number of JJs in absence of additional information. Okay, so you think about this and think about my point of view also, and then we can later find out, what is the situation. But think about my point of view also. So according to me,
So,
the correct answer is cannot be determined. Yeah, yeah.
so sorry to interrupt you, but even according to your point of view, we can actually find the number of JJs using
How?
recursion.
How?
So with probability 0.8, the phrase will have a single JJ.
Hmm.
With probability 0.2 into 0.8, the phrase will have two JJs. And with
Why?
probability 0.2 square
Why?
into
Why? Why? Why?
So 0.2 is first JJP going to JJP JJ, and
Hmm.
then JJP going to JJ is probability 0.8. So
Right.
0.2 into 0.8.
Why multiplication?
So because a JJP going to JJ is independent of what happened before it by domination.
Sir, actually by this expansion method also we get 0.8 only, just
Yes, sir.
calculated.
I'll think about your point of view also. So I think all of us are agreeing to this definition that JJNNS in the numerator divided by number of JJ. I think that all points of view agree. So you are saying that the argument that denominator we cannot count the number of JJs is not true. But I am saying that you cannot count the number of JJs in the denominator, but you are saying it is possible to count. So, okay, so that is now the main point of the main difference in point of view. So let's see which one is correct. Okay, so first of all, are we on the same page when we say that PNNS given JJ is number of JJNNS divided by number of JJ? On that definition, there is no problem, right?
Sir, I
Anybody
had a doubt. I had a doubt.
on that definition
Here,
also?
no, sir. My question is now, if we are saying probability of NNS given JJ, should this NNS and JJ be for consecutive words or can be any word before that word? So if there
No,
is a word
consecutive. No.
consecutive,
Yeah,
sir,
yeah.
okay, then we have only one equation which goes from noun phrase to JJP given NNS, JJP
Okay.
NNS, which is for 0.2 probability. And no
Okay.
matter how we derive JJP, JJ will come at the end because both the equations have JJ coming at the end. So
Right.
shouldn't the probability just be 0.2 then?
No, then
For
you are
this,
actually computing probability of JJ given NNS, but we want
no,
probability of
and
NNS given JJ.
NNS given JJ because it's JJP then NNS, right?
No, but how many times JJ goes to JJ, that I don't know.
But no, sir. But what we are doing is only for consecutive words, right?
Yes.
So there is one equation which says noun phrase going to JJP NNS, and then JJP will be either JJ or JJP JJ.
Yes.
So in both the cases, we'll have JJ followed by NNS.
Yes.
So that is probability of NNS given JJ.
What about probability of JJ given JJ? You are saying that doesn't
Same.
influence.
No, this is for even for the third one, we can derive it the same way. We'll have JJP given JJP JJ, and the probability will be just identifying in which case JJP will become JJ. The probability of JJP
ठीक है.
going JJ.
So I'll keep that in mind. My only problem is that I do not have any quarrel with the definition of PNNS given JJ, and I am finding problem with the denominator. I do not seem to know what is the count of JJs given there are 100 NPs. Okay, that is my only problem. So I'll think about this. I'll think about different points of view that you have said. So, on this we will come back later. Okay. Now we come to a more definite situation where we are saying that the language doesn't allow more than length 3 chunks. Okay. So now the only possibility is whenever you have a noun phrase consisting of an adjective, there the only possibility is that you will have JJ, JJ, NNS or JJ, JJ, NNS. Okay, so you cannot have more than length 3 chunks. So JJ, NNS and JJ, JJ, NNS. Then I know that out of 20 noun phrases which consist of adjectives, you have 16 of them as one kind and 4 of them of the other kind. So 4 of them are JJ, JJ, NNS and 16 of them are JJ, NNS. Okay, so JJ, JJ, NNS and 16 of them are JJ, NNS. Now you can compute the probability by applying this definition. So probability of the probability that is required is, just a minute, probability of JJ given JJ. So then the definition, by definition, JJ following JJ on the numerator divided by total number of JJs. Now total number of JJs is how many? Can you tell me now?
So it becomes kind of weird in the sense we have to reweigh the probabilities also, because now we have limited the length of the chunks also. So,
yeah. No. So see my logic. 20 noun phrases are containing adjectives. Okay, only 20, no more than that. And then out of them 4 are of this form JJ, JJ, NNS. Okay, and 16 of them are JJ, NNS. So what is the total number of adjectives you have?
24 by this one.
24, right? So 4 into 2, 8 plus 16, 24. So the denominator is 24 and numerator is how many? JJ follows JJ.
4.
So 4 by 24, this will be 1 by 6. So 1 by 6 is not an option here. Okay. Okay, so this of course these questions will carry full marks for you, whoever has attempted, or we will not count it maybe. But this is how the calculation needs to be done. Here the D option should have been none of the above. Sorry.
Sir, I have one doubt in this
Yeah,
calculation.
please.
So we said that JJP goes to JJP, JJ occurs in 4 phrases.
Yeah.
And because the length is bounded to 3, we have said that JJP goes to JJ is 1 after that. Is it true?
Where?
So after we expand JJP as JJP, JJ in the third question,
third
we
question, okay.
Yeah, we then only can expand JJP as JJ due to this length constraint.
No, there is no expansion. I'm going by definition. Number of times JJ follows JJ divided by total number of JJs.
Yeah, for the number of times JJ follows JJ, right? There we said that JJP goes to JJP, JJ. And that happens in 4 noun phrases.
4 noun phrases, right?
Yeah. After this expansion, we are just substituting the JJP by only JJ, because only then we can satisfy the constraint.
Okay.
Right. So that's why we took the probability as 1 after that. Right.
Probability is not 1. Probability is 1 by 6.
That's fine, but we change the probability due to this constraint for changing JJP to JJ in the last step.
Okay, that could be, but I'm insisting that you people follow the definition. Okay, so the definition is in the form of ratio of counts. Okay, so please think about my point of view. I'll also think about your point of view, and then we can discuss again. So let me proceed. So this first question, we have understood the phenomenon and we have understood how to make use of ratio of counts for these probabilities, but we can have more discussion later. Now we come to question 2. Horses raced past the garden, neighed loudly. So and we know that sentences have noun phrases and verb phrases. So only those kind of sentences you have. They must have noun phrases and verb phrases. So this answering this question again, you have to understand the language phenomenon here. So this sentence has a peculiar property. Horses raced past the garden. The sentence could have been over there. Horses raced past the garden. Full stop. But then you have neighed loudly. So is it a wrong sentence? It is not a wrong sentence. Okay. So what has happened here is very interesting language phenomena have occurred here. It says horses which were raced past the garden. Okay, horses which were raced past, but somebody is driving the horses and the horses are racing past the garden. And what did they do? They neighed loudly. That means they called loudly. So this which where this drop of the two words, it is called ellipsis. Okay, so Jyotsna, you can please write this in a slide. Ellipsis. Okay, so which were horses which were raced past the garden neighed loudly. They shouted loudly. So the confusion that comes is because of dropping of which were, and there are definite rules by which you can drop these kind of elements. Horses raced past the garden neighed loudly. So in this case, horses raced past the garden becomes a complete noun phrase, and neighed loudly becomes the verb phrase. So the verb phrase has two words, so therefore the answer is C. Now, the challenge in the question is to know that this parsing process will continue up to loudly, and it is not a wrong sentence. This kind of sentences are called garden path sentences. They are called garden path sentences. So they were there in the slides which I had made available to you before the quiz. Now, any question on this?
Hello, sir. You said that there is an implicit which present between horses and race. So in the same way, can't we say that an implicit conjunction, that is and, can be present between garden and need? So then the question will become that horses raced past the garden and neighed loudly. So in this case, it can happen that the raced one is the main verb instead of need.
Yeah, the only thing is that function words like conjunction, preposition, they do not drop. So that's how you thought, or what? Horses raced past the garden and neighed loudly.
Yes, sir. I first of all thought both of them, and then I thought that this is more likely than the other.
Which one? The second one?
Yes.
Achha.
I was
So
confused between both of them, so I thought that I will do this.
Achha. So if you do that, then your word phrase has how many words? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So your answer would have been B then.
Yes.
Achha. Okay. So
Yes, sir. The same thing I did.
I see.
Same thing
You also
I
did
did,
the
and
same thing?
I passed through
Yes,
the LNLLP का जो parser है, and he also showed that the verb phrases of six words is raced past the garden, neighed loudly.
Because you said there is an and drop here, is it?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I see. Horses raced past the garden, neighed loudly. But that's not a correct English sentence, whereas this is a correct English sentence. Okay. And drop is normally not there except for rare cases. So when you say, for example, go get some water, that's okay. That is idiomatic. Go get some water is go and get some water. But horses raced past the garden, neighed loudly, no. It's not a correct English sentence. And moreover, I had made the slides available. Did you people not see the garden paths phenomenon? It came from the slides actually.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
but the choice of ellipsis is also always a ambiguous situation.
No, no, not here, not here, not here. No.
Sir, can the verb phrase have more than one main verb?
Verb phrase can the verb phrase have more than one main verb?
Because if we consider and, then we are saying that raced and need both are sort of verbs in verb phrase. Or will it go into two verb phrases?
Okay, so horses raced past the garden and neighed loudly. So you are talking about the how will the syntax tree look, right?
Yes, sir.
So NP is definitely horses and raced past the garden and neighed loudly. This will also be a big verb phrase, and the verb phrase now will have to be given appropriate grammatical rule. Okay, that a verb along with its noun phrase, there is a conjunction with another sub verb phrase. So it depends on how you phrase the verb phrase. So that's okay. Verb phrases can have verb phrases within them. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but and dropping as an ellipsis is no, it's not grammatical really.
So can you provide us a compiled list of ellipsis rules?
Very difficult. Very difficult. One, there are ellipsis rules. So you see, when can this kind of elliptic drop can happen? By the way, you are in which year? Are you BTech, ChemTech, PhD?
BTech 40.
Fourth year. Okay. So this kind of elliptic drop can happen for nominal objects. So here horses are objects. They were raised. Okay. So and also the verb should be in past tense. So without that, these two conditions, this kind of elliptic drop cannot happen. Okay, so Taj Mahal built in 1670 witnesses many visitors these days. So Taj Mahal built in 1670. So elliptic drop here is Taj Mahal which was built in. So Shah Jahan built Taj Mahal in 1670. So Shah Jahan who built Taj Mahal in 1670 was assassinated. Shah Jahan, who built Taj Mahal in 1670, was assassinated. Here you cannot drop who. Shah Jahan built Taj Mahal in 1670, was assassinated. You cannot drop who here because Shah Jahan is subject and here horses is object. Okay, semantic object, but Shah Jahan is semantic agent. So there are ellipse dropping rules, and this is quite intricate. I can point some literature to you, but that doesn't cover all the language phenomena for ellipsis.
So what will be the subject in this sentence?
In this sentence, the subject is this whole phrase, horses raced past the garden.
Okay.
This whole thing is the subject.
Sir, I had a doubt regarding the correctness of the sentence itself. Suppose we say horses raced past the garden, comma, neighed loudly. So wouldn't that be more natural to assume that the horses are doing two things?
So you are saying that there should have been a comma before need?
Yeah, that or we could like say horses racing past the garden, neighed loudly. So then the whole subject becomes horses racing past the garden.
No. So I think your question is whether this sentence is grammatical or not. Right?
Yes, kind of.
No, it is absolutely grammatical. Absolutely. So this is like Taj Mahal built in 1670, witnesses many visitors. It is exactly like that.
Sir, but still, that sentence would be more natural with commas in between. Taj Mahal, comma, built in 1600, comma, is visited by many visitors.
No. So you do see, these kind of sentence constructs, and we have to go by idiomaticity. This is an idiomatic sentence. Both you and I are not native speakers of English, and this is very much accepted in English language. Now we come to the famous buffalo sentence.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sir, I have one doubt. In that horses race past the garden, that is like the whole is an NP, right? So which expansion exactly are we using for this?
Which expansion? So, I wish I had a tablet. Yeah, I think I should have a tablet. So, the S goes to NPVP and NP goes to horses raced past the garden. Now here, this NP will have an expansion as NP S bar. Okay, and the S bar will have raised past the garden. And the first NP will go to NNS, NNS will go to horses.
Okay.
Jyotsna, maybe you should try to give the parse tree for this sentence in the slide.
So will you consider 6 for that question?
Sorry?
Will you consider 6 to be an alternate answer for that question?
No.
Or not? Yeah.
No. Okay. So question 3. So this is a very famous sentence, okay, where you have only buffaloes. I changed the sentence a bit with cows coming in. And it exploits the language phenomenon, first of all, that almost all English nouns are verbs also. So I don't know how many of you knew that buffalo can also be a verb, cow can be a verb, maybe cow maybe you might have seen before, but buffalo being a verb, maybe not. So that's why I explained here that buffalo can mean to bully. That is the verb sense of buffalo. And cow has this sense of intimidation. Okay, darana jisko bolte hain. The other peculiarity of English language is that you look at cows and you do not know whether it is the plural of cow or is it the third person singular number present tense form of verb cow. This is another peculiarity of English language. So two peculiarities. English allows almost all nouns to also function as verbs and vice versa. And it has overloading of the S suffix. S can indicate plural or S can indicate third person singular number present tense. So that is the reason why you separate the to preposition from rest of the prepositions in English language. To is given a separate tag of capital TO. All other prepositions are given IN. So that logic is very intricate and very instructive. So I have already given this as an exercise when we started part of speech tagging, that why to is separate from rest of the prepositions. The answer is here that almost all nouns act as verbs, and by looking at the morphological suffix of S, you do not know whether it is a verb or noun, nor do you know whether it is third person singular number present tense or plural of a noun. So here, when you look at the sentence, the famous sentence is buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo, 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 buffaloes, buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo. So there are some 10, 11 buffaloes. So we'll count, okay? The original English sentence. So I'll write it here, which is a very, very famous sentence. Buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo, buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo. When I pause, you get a clue, of course. Buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo, 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 buffaloes, buffalo, buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo. So how many buffaloes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 buffaloes. You see? And this is really the stress test for any part of speech tagger and parser and chunker. So you might say that who will utter these kind of sentences? No, nobody will utter. But they are there to give an acid test to any parsing algorithm or part of speech tagging algorithm. So just like, if you go to, let's say, the telco factory where they build trucks and cars and other vehicles, they give stress test. They give the inclination as, let's say, 75 degree, 85 degree and so on. So you might argue that who will give that kind of inclination for the vehicle? Maybe not, but even if one such occasion comes, the vehicle will be damaged. Okay, it will topple and it will run the risk of killing its passengers and so on. So those extreme cases do not occur. That is true. But if they occur, what will happen? So they are the acid test situations, the stress test situation. So this sentence with 11 buffaloes is an acid test, ultimate test for any parser. So what does the sentence mean? To understand any such sentence, you have to first hit the main verb. So there is tremendous confusion and very rarely people know which is the main verb in the sentence. So can anybody say which is the main verb here? So I'll give them number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, is my screen visible?
The sixth one.
My screen is visible? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So which is the main verb? Sixth one you're saying, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Sixth one is correct. Buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo. Buffalo, buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo. Okay. So what does this mean? It means that buffalo, buffaloes, that is buffaloes who live in Buffalo. The first buffalo is Sunny Buffalo, a place near New York. So first is a named entity, buffalo. Next, buffaloes is NNS, a plural noun. Now, buffalo, buffaloes should be chunked together. These are buffaloes from Buffalo. Now here you can see elliptic drop. Buffalo, buffaloes, whom other buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo. So the 3, 4, and 5 is a verb phrase within a noun phrase. So buffaloes living in Sunny Buffalo, whom other buffaloes living in Sunny Buffalo, buffalo, fifth buffalo, bully, buffalo, this is the main verb, bully, in their turn, buffalo, buffaloes, another set of buffalo, buffaloes, whom yet another set of buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo. Okay, so by this time I think you are really you're really feeling weird, maybe, but the sentence is perfectly grammatical, makes perfect sense if you do the disambiguations correctly. Every word here is up for part of speech disambiguation. Every group of word is up for chunk disambiguation. And every set of chunk is up for parsing disambiguation. So the sixth buffalo is the main verb, then everything falls in place. So before sixth buffalo, just a minute, before sixth buffalo, everything is forming a noun phrase. After the sixth buffalo, again, everything forms a noun phrase. So it is noun phrase, main verb, noun phrase. Now let's look at the noun phrase, which is from 1 to 5. Here, buffalo, buffaloes, which were bullied by other buffalo, buffaloes. Again, you can see the elliptic drop of previous kind, garden pathing. And the noun phrase after 6 is again witnessing a elliptic drop. Buffalo, buffaloes, whom other buffalo, buffaloes, buffalo. So how many sets of buffaloes here are? One set of buffaloes, second set of buffaloes, third set of buffaloes, fourth set of buffaloes. Okay, so there are 4 sets of buffaloes, all live in Sunny Buffalo, and the first set is bullied by the third set. First set actually bullies the third set. First set is bullied by the second set, third set is bullied by the fourth set. Okay, so let me write this, and Jyotsna, please note this. 4 sets of buffaloes. First set bullies third set. Second set bullies first set. Fourth set bullies third set. Okay. So now, if you have negotiated this sentence with 11 buffaloes, the sentence in the question must be cakewalk. So buffalo, buffaloes, buffaloes, buffalo, cow, cows, buffaloes, buffalo. So here, if I put first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, there are 8 words here. Which one is the main verb here? Buffalo, buffaloes, buffaloes, buffalo forms a noun phrase. Fifth word, cow, is the main verb. The object of that main verb is cows, buffaloes, buffalo. The set of cows whom buffaloes bully. So the meaning is buffaloes, buffaloes, that is buffaloes living in Sunny Buffalo, whom other buffaloes bully. They intimidate the cows whom a third set of buffaloes bully. So the question was, how many NN tags are there? That means how many singular nouns? So singular nouns candidates are only the first buffalo and fifth cow. Everything else has S. So if you have S, it is either third person singular number present tense verb, or it is a plural. So singular noun is being asked, is it buffalo or cow? Now cow, you know, is the main verb, therefore first buffalo is the only NN, and that answer therefore is 1. Any question?
Sir,
Yes,
should first buffalo be adjective?
No, but it will be tagged as noun. It is an adjective. It is a nominal, okay, functioning as an adjective, but it will be tagged as noun.
Isn't it same like golf stick?
What is that?
Isn't it similar to like golf stick? So golf will become adjective instead of noun.
Yeah. So you can you can argue that way. So what was your answer?
It should be 0.
Okay. Yeah.
So also,
Since 0.
Sorry.
Sorry,
If
since 0 is
The
not
first
an
buffalo
option.
is USA City Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, the first buffalo is the USA City Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
So in
Right.
that way, the first buffalo should be proper noun, no?
Okay, but proper noun is a kind of noun. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is mentioned that NN or NP tag. Matlab, then the first buffalo would be NP tag, and the last buffalo should be NN tag, no?
Last buffalo should be. No, last buffalo is verb, bully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then in that sense, the first buffalo must be NP, no?
No, we are discussing only part of speech. Okay, part of speech, and not really phrases here. So your so
I
those.
mean NNP, proper noun,
Yeah,
NNP tag.
Yeah, that has been pointed out. Yeah, maybe the question should have been, these are the only tags possible. Okay, but if that is your argument, I think we'll give you credit. Okay, but I think you understand the main point I'm making here. It requires you to understand the whole parse structure of the sentence.
So apart from the question, should it be JJ or NNP? The first.
Sure. No, I do not want to take any stand. Okay, it depends on the parsing algorithm and the corpus on which it is trained. So and also how the data has been annotated. Okay, so I'll ask my annotators, if they're annotating the corpus, I'll ask them to put NNP there. Okay, so it really depends on the data and the machine learning model.
So just adding to that part. So basically, when there is adjectival, we will use JJ rather than NNS, right? Or should we still tag it as NNS when it is?
No. So okay. So this particular question is the question on annotation. Okay, it depends on your style. So I will ask my annotator to put NNP there. Okay, right.
No, so I'm asking in general. Means whenever there is adjectival, what do we put? Should we put JJ or should we put NN tag? What do we put usually?
No, so you see the functional role gets uncovered in the next layer of NLP, next few layers of NLP. So when you are at the part of speech tag layer, okay, I'll say you put NN there. Yes.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Okay, but I think we have run out of time, and we'll discuss more of the remaining questions and also have more clarity on the first question with respect to probability on Thursday class. And
hello, sir.
Yeah, and your mid-sem will be based on whatever has been done so far. Yeah. What is the question?
Sir, can you give some references, means reference material for the type of questions that were asked in the quiz or maybe asked in the mid-sem?
Okay.
So probably some tutorial.
No, so are you saying that give us the places from where you will ask questions? Is that the question?
No, sir. We want to practice we want to practice this type of questions. So to get a grip on how to solve it.
Okay. So okay, I'll try to make things available to you, but you'll have to think on the feet. You'll have to think in the examination class, during the examination. Okay.
So like in general, in most courses we have like previous year papers or previous tutorials to practice. Like as this is a new course, like it gets a little tough to like do that directly in the exam when we haven't seen similar problems or something.
Okay. So will you people have time for a tutorial sometime? Or just practice questions is fine?
So practice questions would work.
Yes, sir. These questions is fine.
Okay, I'll try to make a question bank and send to you. So then today we'll end the class.